Let's dive straight in with number 11, the twin sacrifices. Researchers uncovered something unsettling inside an ancient Maya reservoir. More than 100 sets of children's bones, all of them boys between 3 and 6 years old. DNA tests revealed many of these boys were siblings. Several were even identical twins. The Maya told stories about heroic twin brothers who ventured into the underworld. These heroes died and returned to life again and again. To recreate this myth, the Maya sacrificed real twin children. The reservoir wasn't just a place to store drinking water. They believed these underground chambers were literal gateways to the underworld, so their water systems doubled as ritual killing sites. Scientists discovered faint traces of blue pigment on the remains. The Maya painted the children blue before the ceremony to mark them as offerings to the rain deity. More rain meant healthier corn harvests and survival. The bones show this ritual continued for roughly 4 centuries. Number 10. The Book of Death. Archaeologists uncovered a gigantic scroll hidden inside an Egyptian tomb. This thing stretches 52 feet long, about the length of 3 parked cars. It functions as an ancient walkthrough guide for the afterlife, packed with spells, instructions, and warnings for dodging supernatural dangers on the road to eternity. Basically a strategy guide, but for dying. The scroll uses 2 kinds of ink that still look vivid after 2 millennia. Red ink marks threats like demons and monstrous beings. Black ink highlights protective spells and helpful gods. In the judgment scene, your heart gets weighed against a feather. If your heart tipped the scale, a chimera creature, part crocodile, part lion, part hippo, would devour it. Wealthy Egyptians ordered personalized versions with spells they selected themselves. The cost was about half a laborer's yearly salary, like buying a luxury afterlife upgrade. Number 9. The Chalk Drum. 3 children were found buried together in a 5,000-year-old grave in Yorkshire. 2 younger kids were positioned holding each other, while the oldest wrapped an arm around them. Beside the eldest child's head lay a small chalk cylinder. Its surface was carved with flawless geometric designs, perfect circles stacked inside one another. Every line etched with astonishing accuracy. The drum is tiny, just a few inches across, but the craftsmanship is unbelievable. The patterns look as if they were made with machines. And remember, this object predates the pyramids. The carvings match markings found at Stonehenge, which was under construction around the same time. Researchers think these designs may represent an early measuring system. Ancient Britons might have used them to plan massive structures like Stonehenge. What's even more remarkable is the material. Chalk is fragile and crumbles easily. Yet this artifact survived 5 millennia underground without disintegrating. It's only the 4th chalk drum ever discovered in Britain. The other 3 were found just 15 meters away more than a century ago, and all of them were buried with children. Number 8. The Ancient Puppets. Something unnerving turned up recently in El Salvador. Clay puppets dating back 2,400 years, discovered at the top of a pyramid. These aren't ordinary figurines. They stand about a foot tall and have faces that shift expression. Their heads detach and are linked with strings running through tiny holes in the neck. There are 5 puppets, 4 women and 1 man. Each has an open mouth frozen mid-speech. The lone male figure is covered in markings resembling tattoos or scars. Tilt the head slightly, and the expression changes entirely. One angle looks cheerful, another looks terrified or furious. These ancient artisans clearly understood how to manipulate emotion through design. The people who built them believed that performing a story made it come true. So the puppets were used in ceremonies to reenact old myths. While crowds gathered below, skilled performers worked the strings to make the clay figures move and speak. Number 7. The Cave of Swords. Hidden deep inside cliffs near the Dead Sea, researchers discovered a cave packed with Roman weapons. 4 Roman swords nearly 2,000 years old, yet they look practically brand new. The blades are still sharp, the wooden handles are intact, and even the leather scabbards survived. Normally, wood and leather rot within centuries, but the super-dry desert air kept everything preserved like a natural time capsule. These weren't low-quality weapons. They're Roman spathas, the elite blades used by top-tier soldiers and gladiators, perfectly balanced, expertly forged, and still gleaming. Jewish rebels stole these swords during their uprising against Rome. When Roman forces came searching, the rebels hid the weapons in this cave. They probably intended to return for them, but never did. So the sword stayed untouched for nearly 2 millennia. The cave sits near the Ain Gedi Oasis, a spot so remote that looters never stumbled upon it. Tourists swim in the Dead Sea nearby, unaware that these ancient weapons were resting in the shadows above them. Number 6. The Circle of Skeletons. Underneath modern Mexico City, archaeologists uncovered something that looks pulled from a horror film. 10 skeletons arranged in a perfect circle, their arms locked together as if frozen mid-dance. These remains date back 2,400 years, long before the Aztecs rose to power. The group includes adults, teenagers, a child, and even a 1-month-old infant. Each was carefully positioned to form this eerie spiral. Some skulls had been intentionally reshaped during childhood, pressed and molded into elongated forms. These individuals weren't commoners. They were buried with ornate bowls and polished stones, suggesting high status. The circular layout aligns with the spiral shape of the Milky Way. Researchers think this wasn't simply a burial. It was part of a ritual we still can't fully decode. Maybe it was designed to link the dead with the stars above. For more than 2,000 years, these 10 people have remained hand in hand beneath the city. Number 5. The diplomatic spider monkey. Under an ancient plaza in Mexico, scientists found the skeleton of a spider monkey. But this wasn't just a random animal, it was a political gift from 1,700 years ago. The monkey was discovered in Teotihuacan, a massive city known for its towering pyramids. Spider monkeys don't live anywhere near that region. Their natural habitat lies hundreds of miles away in Maya territory. By analyzing the monkey's bones, researchers uncovered its life story. It spent its early years eating tropical fruit in dense forests. Then suddenly its diet shifted to corn and chili peppers, basically being fed like a city dweller. The Maya chose spider monkeys deliberately because they were considered sacred. It was the ancient version of gifting a panda to show goodwill. The monkey's limbs were found bound, showing it was sacrificed during a ceremony. It was buried alongside golden eagles and elaborate artifacts. This creature wasn't a pet. It was a living symbol of peace between two powerful civilizations. Number 4. The Ukrainian Stonehenge. Yes, there's a Stonehenge-like site hidden in the forests of Ukraine. Some of its stones rise 5 meters tall, roughly the height of a giraffe. The boulders form strange alignments, with several stacked in gravity-defying ways, like a giant game of Jenga. Researchers found 2 enormous footprints carved into the stone. One faces east, the other west. Cracks within the stones trace perfect north-southeast-west directions, functioning almost like an ancient compass. Between 2 of the biggest rocks is a narrow passage just wide enough for a person to squeeze through. Locals call the stones the God's Stone and the Devil's Stone. According to legend, this wasn't always a collection of rocks. It was once a village. The story says a traveler, actually God in disguise, asked for food, but a villager handed him a stone instead of bread. In punishment, God transformed the entire village into stone, leaving his footprint behind as a warning. Scientists are split on how the site formed. Some believe glaciers dragged these stones here thousands of years ago. Others argue they're remnants of a long-eroded mountain range. Number 3. The 2 species footprints. In Kenya, researchers uncovered something extraordinary. Footprints from 2 different human ancestors preserved in the same patch of ancient mud. These tracks are about 1.5 million years old and were left near an ancient lakeshore. One set belongs to Homo erectus, one of our direct ancestors. They walked like we do, crafted tools, and understood how to handle fire. The other set comes from Paranthropus boisei, a species built with massive jaws and huge teeth, basically the heavy-duty plant-eating cousins of early humans. The prints were made within hours of each other. Both species walked across the exact same muddy stretch. One individual even stepped into a hippo footprint and slipped slightly, just like a modern person might. The mud captured incredibly detailed impressions. You can see the toe marks clearly, and even the arch of the foot. Animal prints surrounded the human tracks, hippos, birds, and others, creating a full snapshot of life at that moment. When the mud hardened into stone, the whole scene froze in time. This discovery is the first definitive evidence that these 2 species actually crossed paths. Until now, scientists could only speculate whether they ever interacted. Now we know they walked the same shoreline, breathed the same air, and likely saw each other from across the landscape. Number 2. The Cusco tunnels. Beneath the streets of Cusco, Peru, lies a sprawling maze of tunnels stretching more than a mile underground. The main passage runs from the Inca's most sacred temple directly to a massive fortress called Sacsayhuaman. These tunnels were built with the same incredible precision seen in Inca temples above ground. Every stone block fits perfectly. Every surface is squared and aligned with impressive accuracy. Spanish chroniclers wrote about these tunnels in the 1500s. They described a vast labyrinth where people wandered for days and often failed to find the exit. Locals called the network Chincana, meaning the place where one becomes lost. For centuries, no one knew if the stories were true or exaggerated. Modern ground-penetrating radar finally confirmed the legends. The tunnels really do run beneath contemporary Cusco. They weave under modern houses, churches, and streets laid down long after the Inca Empire fell. Number 1. The L-shaped mystery. Under the sand near the pyramids of Giza, scientists discovered a strange L-shaped structure. It's huge, roughly the size of 3 school buses arranged in the shape of an L. It sits about 6 feet below the surface in an area known as the Western Cemetery, where Egypt's elite were buried. The shape is so precise that it had to be engineered by humans. Nature doesn't carve perfect right angles like that. The entire structure is packed with sand, not windblown sand, but sand that appears to have been intentionally filled in. It's as if the builders constructed the space and then deliberately buried it. Ground-penetrating radar revealed what appears to be yet another structure underneath. Whatever is below gives off unusual electrical signals. It might be a hidden chamber or an unknown network of tunnels. All of this sits right beneath tourists posing for photos at the pyramids, unaware there's a buried mystery just a few feet underfoot. That wraps up the list for today's discoveries. Each one gives us a glimpse into rituals, mysteries, and moments in history that were literally buried for centuries. And there are plenty more out there waiting to be uncovered. I'll be diving into similar stories in upcoming videos. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.